The Detroit Lions will win the NFC North. The roster is not as impressive as your typical division winner, but the coaching staff is credible enough to win at least 10 games. I'm Chase Keller, and tune into this dive of the Detroit Lions, why I believe they will finish 11-6, and how they came up in 12th in my 2023 NFL Power Rankings. The offense for this Detroit team proved a lot of people wrong, being 4th in yards per game and 5th in points per game. Personally, I don't think the offensive talent cracks the top 10, but great coaching should elevate it back up there in 2023. So, let's talk about this offense. The quarterbacks are a fun group to discuss. Jared Goff seems like a system quarterback to me, but 2022 is straying me away from that idea. He showed some personal traits that many system QBs don't hold, and his reliability is starting to become a given. Goff passed for a career high in passer rating last year, and his passing tendencies have also been debatably the best we've seen. The receivers, which we will discuss in a moment, did turn some of his passes into turnovers, which means he could have very well had 5 interceptions last year. He did have some negatives last season, like an immense amount of checkdown throws and a high success rate only in play action, but his play is still enough to be ranked as the 17th best starting quarterback for 2023. The team also drafted Hendon Hooker, a guy I believe who would have been a first-round pick if it wasn't for injury. He's got heavenly arm talent, prototypical NFL size, fantastic accuracy, and a lot more that you could ask for in an NFL quarterback. As I said before, injury is a concern, as well as Tennessee's QB manipulative offensive scheme. Yet, he's still a great backup option as a rookie, and he comes close to starting on 3 NFL teams. The running back room has gone through heavy changes this offseason, but it has retained decent ability to maintain an average rating. Out with Jamal Williams and in with David Montgomery. Monty used to be a little under the radar, but it's safe to say that he's suffering from a running back curse, a curse where they peak early. In 2020, he had 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, along with forcing 54 missed tackles. Yet in 2022, he missed 1 game and only rushed for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is not particularly worthy of a running back 1 slot. The hope is that he retains running back 1 talent and booms with Detroit. Out with DeAndre Swift and in with Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs reminds me so much of Swift, and while he was a reach on the 2023 NFL Draft, the switch just makes sense. Gibbs will be utilized in the same way that DeAndre Swift was, as Gibbs is an elite dual threat player. He does struggle with everything play strength, but in a new modern NFL, does that really matter? The wide receiver core has both the upside and the star power. What holds this rating back from being more than above average is the wide receiver 3, but this group could immensely improve by next season. We start with the star in Amon-Ra St. Brown, who barely misses out on that superstar level. St. Brown has developed like crazy, and while I was very high on him compared to his draft position, he's turned out better than I even expected. St. Brown is that consistent threat who is good in both the deep game and behind the line of scrimmage. He's elite in yards after catch, and he's starting to become a top-tier route runner. So while Brown isn't that superstar yet, if he continues to develop like this, that will come in no time. Jameson Williams may be suspended to start the year, but there's no denying the upside is absolutely there. We've only seen 78 snaps and 1 reception to start his career, but he's already showed flashes of becoming a phenomenon. When healthy, Williams is a great deep threat and can quickly become a top 3 deep guy in the league. He gets separation with ease with his fantastic deep speed and great route running. And after him, it's becoming a toss-up. Josh Reynolds is strictly a slot guy with his short field ability and mediocre route running. Marvin Jones Jr. is athletic and can play wherever, but he's now 33 years old and becoming less reliable as time goes on. And Khalif Raymond is a shifty receiver with great returning ability, but only some of that return ability shows as a wideout. The Lions also recently picked up Denzel Mims, but he's currently the team's wide receiver 6. Sure, he's explosive and he's athletic, but he's shown bare production to start his career. And even I was high on him as a prospect. The tight end group is awful, but I will admit, I saw upside in some of these guys last season. As of now, this group could really improve. I won't spend much time on these guys, but we start with the new draftee Sam Laporta. I explained a lot about Laporta already, so let's flash backwards to my top 5 tight ends video, where he came in 5th. It starts with Laporta's route running. Throughout his entire route, he stays confident and crisp, creating some of the best separation of any tight end in this class. Laporta's primary threat was in the first 2 levels, as his open field ability with the ball is fantastic for a tight end. He uses multiple threats with this aspect, whether it's his solid lateral elusiveness to lose defenders or power to get extra yardage through a tackle. Laporta's blocking hits him here on this report. While he is a competitive blocker with nice instincts, his problem comes through his blocking technique and capability to sustain blocks. Behind him, that guy I saw a bunch of upside in was Brock Wright. Wright is strictly a receiving tight end, but 3 touchdowns in the previous 4 games is pretty damn impressive. After Hawkinson was traded, Wright showed that he was perfect for Dan Campbell's scheme, and we will discuss that scheme here very soon. So yeah, that's about all we need. Let's flip to the offensive line. This group is comfortably the best group on this team, and with 3 studs and no duds, they deserve this elite tag. The blindside blocker for this group is Taylor Decker, who is a fantastic pass blocker. With 4 seasons of 1,000 snaps over the last 5, the 1 season being held back by injury, Decker is clearly a reliable option. Decker hasn't allowed more than 37 pressures since his rookie season, and that comes out to about 30th in the NFL. His run blocking is good as well, but it comes nowhere to his elite pass blocking. The second stud is center Frank Ragnow, a guy who has also dealt with injuries recently. When this guy plays, he plays at an elite level, being one of, if not, the best run-blocking center in the league. Ragnow is extremely powerful with fair athleticism to be a somewhat good upfield blocker and lateral blocker. Even as a pass blocker, he allowed 13 pressures and 1 sack in over 1,000 snaps last season. And the third stud is right tackle Penei Sewell, the best piece to this line and the only superstar here. Going into his 3rd season, it is time for Sewell to elevate himself to a 90+ overall. Sewell is an all-around threat, being great at whatever you ask him to do on the line. He's powerful, he's athletic, he's got great technique, and he's still developing. That is scary. The 2 guys who aren't studs are great filler starters for an offensive line. Left guard Jonah Jackson has been a lackluster pass blocker to say the least, but he's very talented in the run while still being very young. And right guard, I've never learned how to say his name, I'm not even going to try it, is a veteran option who didn't play in 2022. Despite that, we know he can reliably run block on any given day. Now we get to the offensive coaching, which is starting to go into that elite side of things. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Dan Campbell.
Sometimes it's not always about this guy. Sometimes the drill may be about this guy and handling adversity.
Campbell can run both offense and defense, but on the offensive side of things, he doesn't call the plays. Yeah, he doesn't call the plays. It's all Ben Johnson, who is another great guy for his position anyways. The big success point from last season was the surprising run game being successful no matter who was behind center. For this upcoming season, as I mentioned with the running back group, the talent is still there with different players. Ben Johnson deserves a lot of credit obviously, but so does Dan Campbell, as they both have built this offense to elite levels. To summarize, the Lions offense is something to watch for in 2023, with fantastic coaching and a lot of developing players. Time will tell if they can keep the success rate that they had in 2022. Now, let's discuss the defense. The Lions defense hasn't been great the last few years. The last time they were top 10 in any category was 2018, where they were 10th in points allowed. The defensive successes likely won't come this season either, as the defensive roster has too many holes to be near the top half across the league. So let's discuss this defensive roster. The edge rushers get us off to a good start, as the average group has a developing stud who I expect to become a superstar in 2023. Aiden Hutchinson showed flashes of elite play in 2022, and in nearly 1,000 snaps, he compiled 53 pressures and 9.5 sacks as a rookie. He's developing everywhere, and it's going to show next season. Hutchinson is extremely explosive with elite lateral ability to confuse opposing blockers. With a good start in play strength as well, this man is going to be special. I kind of feel like he's in an unlucky situation because he can't be given a breakout grade with his overall rating over 85. A guy who can break out though is my breakout grade number 1 on this roster in Charles Harris. While he is not projected to start, he showed enough potential in 2021 to sell me. He did suffer from injuries in 2022, but the year before, he came up with 52 pressures in under 900 snaps. He had more efficiency in 2021 than Hutchinson had in 2022, so the breakout grade just makes sense. Behind these two guys is consistency in John Kaminsky and Romeo Okwara. Kaminsky is going into his 5th season, and when possible, he's done nothing but become more trustworthy. He has a consistent skill set, but nothing too great to elevate himself too high. With Okwara, he hasn't played over 200 snaps since 2020, and his rating has been falling since. He may fall out of the rotation completely in 2023. The interior defensive line starts the negativity. It's one of 3 terrible positional groups on this team, which we've already seen the tight ends, and it does not surprise me that the team topped this group off with an F-grade draft selection in defensive tackle Broderick Martin. Martin will not be discussed in this section though, but we still have plenty to discuss here. Aleem McNeil is not worth the first interior D-line at the moment, but given the upside and the situation, he absolutely deserves this with the franchise. McNeil was a 3rd-round selection in 2021, and since then, he's done nothing but improve. He's turning into a nice pass rusher with great play strength and attacking abilities. He's also got great surroundings with Aiden Hutchinson, a developing superstar, and Charles Harris, the first breakout grade on this roster. These reasons are enough to give McNeil the 2nd breakout grade on this roster. Behind McNeil, it is not pretty. Isaiah Buggs saw an inflated role in 2022 with 752 snaps, but in those snaps, he's shown nothing better than mediocrity as a player. As a pass rusher, he is fairly decent. Levi Onwuzurike was a guy I had a 4th-round grade on as a prospect, but I generally want to know what happened. He was awful in 2021, and he missed the entire 2022 season with a back injury. Sure, he can elevate his rating at any time now, but I haven't seen any promise yet. The linebacker room here isn't great either. Another terrible rating for this defense, but I promise this is the last one we see today. The problem with this core is the lack of current talent, but I'll have to admit that this group could be much better going into next season. Jack Campbell leads this pack as a rookie, but I thought this selection was pretty great. As an early 2nd-round talent, I love the upside from Campbell, and he fits very well in Detroit's system. Campbell is a great locker room guy with a stout frame and great upside in run defense. As a general linebacker, he's a great communicator, and sooner or later, every team's going to want him as their Mike linebacker. Behind him, it is also not pretty. Malcolm Rodriguez was actually decent in 2022, and I think he could possibly break out in 2023. He doesn't receive one of the grades, but it's very possible he could next year. Rodriguez is a great run defender with great tackling instincts. He definitely could improve on coverage though. Then there's James Houston, who I was very high on, and when he played in 2022, he was fantastic, compiling 17 pressures in 140 snaps. He played edge a lot, and while I did scout him as a linebacker, he could definitely make the switch to edge, but I need to see more snaps from him. Now here's where it gets good. The cornerback room made immense improvements this offseason, and I made some moves to manipulate the rating a little bit for Detroit. Detroit fans, you guys are probably very confused, but let me explain here with CJ Gardner-Johnson. With my rating system, I think he's going to be playing in the nickelback role, which I like to consider cornerback. And even then, I can see him taking a lot of snaps at corner, given that he played over 200 at slot corner last year. CGJ is a ball hawk wherever he plays either way. He's had 9 interceptions the last 2 seasons. He's got things to improve on, but a change of scenery once again may help that. Then there's also the addition of Emmanuel Moseley, which is a very underrated one. There's something about these 49ers DBs, man. Moseley has been nothing short of great in coverage. allowing just 60% of his targets to be caught in 3 of his first 4 years, and he's had a generally low target rate. He's also racked up 24 pass breakups to start his career, and that includes last season where he played 312 snaps. And then Cam Sutton is also new, and 2022 was really his small breakout. He allowed only 50% of targets to be caught, only allowed 411 yards, and allowed a passer rating of 69.6. Jerry Jacobs is also here, and he's got heavy upside in coverage as well. The safeties are under average, but hey, at least it's not terrible again. Tracy Walker leads this group without CGJ, and he has flashes at some points. Let's use his last big season in 2021, where he was good in run support, but that was about it. And he may have played in only 93 coverage snaps last season, but in those 93 snaps, he allowed only 2 targets. Yet, the first thing he needs to push for is hopefully play another healthy year. The team also stole Brian Branch in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Branch has his athletic concerns, but there's no denying that he's going to be special. Branch is a smart safety who can tackle really well and play efficiently in the box. In zone, he is very special, but I can't really say the same about man coverage. And there's also Kirby Joseph. I may be a biased Illini fan, but I was high on him as a prospect, and he showed high potential to start his career. In 2022, he showed some great coverage instincts and great anticipation. Now, it's time to elevate that. He receives breakout grade number 3 on this roster. The defensive coaching here is just as great as the offensive coaching. With another guy who's deservedly seeing head coach opportunities, this coaching is elite. Aaron Glenn is the team's defensive coordinator. He runs a unique 4-3 scheme with many switches to 3-4, and that's what you can do with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. But back to Aaron Glenn, he does have some room to improve, but so does his defensive talent, as they are all very young and upside based. With head coach interviews already flowing in, he could be out as a head coach by next season or the season after. To summarize, the defense isn't great yet. With great coaching and 3 breakout grades, expect this defense to do something special this year. Finally, let's discuss the rating splits. Before I end every video, I go through the rating splits for offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and the overall team. If you are interested in how this entire rating system works, it is in the description below. Let's start with offense, which is 15th in the NFL, 7th in the NFC, and 2nd in the NFC North. The defense received a 72.03, which is 27th in the NFL, 13th in the NFC, and 3rd in the NFC North. The special teams came out at a 73.42, which is 8th in the NFL, 2nd in the NFC, and 1st in the NFC North. And coaching came out at a perfect 80 out of 80, which is obviously tied for 1st in the NFL, tied for 1st in the NFC, and 1st in the NFC North. The overall team rating is very confusing, as it came out at a 76.0175, 0.2 of a point off of our 11th ranked team. So tune in for that video, by the way. That rating is 1st in the NFC North, 5th in the NFC, and 12th in the NFL. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I got 11 more teams to power rank, so you're missing out. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.